Alright, buckle up, because I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to write one of these posts. But life's got a way of smacking you in the face with irony, and here I am. For context, I'm in my early 30s, been in what I thought was a solid relationship for about 4 years. We had our routines, Netflix nights, little weekend road trips, Sunday mornings at the farmer's market. You know, couple stuff. But here's the thing. Lately, I started noticing small changes. Nothing obvious at first, just little shifts in energy. She started working late, more often, keeping her phone face down, laughing at texts she wouldn't explain. I kept brushing it off, telling myself I was being paranoid. Still, there was this gnawing feeling in my gut that wouldn't let up. Looking back, I realized those tiny cracks were the first signs of trouble. At the time, though, I kept telling myself, she loves me. Don't overthink it. I didn't know it then, but I was about to learn the hard way how easily trust can turn into a trick. The first real red flag hit me on a random Tuesday night. She said she had a team dinner after work. No big deal, right? Except when I called her around 9 p.m. just to check in, she didn't pick up. Texted me back half an hour later with a sorry, loud place, can't talk. Thing is, she never mentioned where the dinner was happening. Normally, she'd overshare about stuff like that. Who was going, what food they were having, even gossip about coworkers. But this time, radio silence. I tried to play it cool, but my chest felt like it was being crushed. That's when I did something I never imagined I'd do. I drove by her office parking lot. I felt like a crazy person, but curiosity and dread were eating me alive. And you know what? Her car wasn't there. That drive home felt like the longest 20 minutes of my life. Every worst-case scenario started playing in my head like a movie. I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of the unraveling. The next morning, she came home acting like nothing happened. Hair still damp from a shower, smelling like a hotel soap I didn't recognize. I asked her casually, "So, how was dinner?" She hesitated, just for a split second, but enough for me to notice. Then she launched into some story about sushi with her coworkers, how the new guy was awkward but funny. The problem? She hates sushi. Always has. I've known this woman for years. She won't even touch California rolls at a party. That was the first time I realized she was willing to lie straight to my face. And the way she smiled after saying it, like she thought I'd bought every word, it stung worse than if she'd just told me the truth. I wanted to explode. I wanted to shout to call her out. But instead, I just nodded and said, "Sounds fun." Inside, though, it felt like the ground had cracked under me. And here's the kicker. Later that night, when she thought I was asleep, she grabbed her phone and tiptoed into the bathroom. I heard the faint buzz of her voice, muffled laughter, and then silence. That silence said everything. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. My chest was pounding, my head spinning, and every instinct in me screamed, "You need to know the truth." So, when she left her phone charging in the kitchen the next morning while showering, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked it. Now, I wasn't looking to snoop through every little thing. I just wanted to confirm whether I was losing my mind or not. But what I found, damn, it felt like someone had poured acid straight into my veins. There were messages, long threads, his name saved as just an initial, T. Cute little tricks to hide him. Their texts weren't just flirty, they were intimate. Stuff you don't say unless you're crossing lines. She was telling him things she hadn't told me in months, about her day, her dreams, even how she couldn't wait to see him again. I remember standing there, staring at the screen, feeling like the room was spinning. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the phone. And the wild part? A piece of me still wanted to believe it wasn't what it looked like. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't insecurity. This was betrayal, plain and simple. When she came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her hair, I was just sitting there at the table with her phone in front of me. I didn't even say anything at first. I just slid it toward her. Her face dropped. You know that instant shift when someone realizes the game is up? That was it. She froze, eyes darting between me and the phone like she was trying to figure out which excuse to pick. Finally, I said, "Who's T?" My voice cracked on the last word, and I hated how weak I sounded. She tried the classic line, "It's not what you think." But the look in her eyes betrayed her. She wasn't shocked I knew. She was shocked she got caught. Big difference. I told her I read enough to know it wasn't innocent. Her response? Tears. Not the kind of tears that come from guilt, though. These were the panicked, manipulative kind, the kind that say, maybe if I cry hard enough, he'll back down. I didn't back down. My anger was boiling too close to the surface. But at the same time, there was this crushing sadness sitting in my chest. Like I was watching the version of my life I thought I had just crumble in real time. She kept saying she was confused, that she still loved me, but needed to figure herself out. Which, let's be real, is cheater code for, I want to keep you while I test drive someone else. And that's when something inside me snapped. I don't even remember standing up, but suddenly I was on my feet, pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. My words came out sharper than I intended, but I couldn't hold them back. Figure yourself out? While you're sneaking around behind my back. You don't figure yourself out in someone else's bed. She flinched. For a second, I thought she might finally admit it all, but instead she doubled down. She said I was overreacting, that what happened between them wasn't physical, just emotional. Like that was supposed to make me feel better. I laughed. Actually laughed. One of those bitter, broken laughs that sound more like a bark. Because honestly, emotional cheating cut even deeper. It meant she gave someone else the pieces of herself that were supposed to be mine. The argument spiraled from there. Her crying, me yelling, both of us throwing words like knives. She accused me of being controlling, of spying on her. I shot back that trust doesn't need surveillance if it's real. At some point, I just stopped. I looked at her, mascara streaked, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline, and I realized the woman standing in front of me wasn't the one I fell in love with. Or maybe she was, and I just never noticed the mask slipping. And in that moment, a cold calm settled over me. That calm I felt. It was like flipping a switch. The yelling stopped, the panic drained out, and what replaced it was this eerie sense of clarity. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Pack a bag. You're leaving tonight." She froze. Her mouth opened, then closed again like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. Finally, she whispered, "Where am I supposed to go?" And I'll be honest, hearing that almost broke me. Because even after everything, a part of me still cared. But then I pictured those texts, the laughter in the bathroom at midnight, the lies about sushi. That part of me shriveled up instantly. So I told her, "Go to T. Seems like you already spend enough time with him." Her tears stopped cold. The guilt turned into anger, and suddenly she was accusing me of throwing away everything we built. That one stung, because I wasn't the one who'd lit a match under our life together. She was. In that moment, though, I made a promise to myself. No begging, no bargaining, no giving her a second chance to trick me. My self-respect had to matter more than her excuses. I grabbed her suitcase, tossed it onto the bed, and left the room while she packed. That was the night my relationship officially ended. The silence after she left was deafening. No TV in the background, no faint hum of her music coming from the bathroom, no clinking of dishes in the kitchen. Just me, alone, staring at the walls we used to decorate together. I thought I'd feel powerful, like I'd reclaimed something by kicking her out. Instead, it hit me like a punch in the gut. The house didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a crime scene. Every corner reminded me of her. The couch where we'd binge shows, the counter where she'd dance while cooking, even the damn laundry basket still half full of her clothes. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing into her phone, whispering to him like a teenager sneaking calls past curfew. My chest felt hollow, like she'd scooped out everything soft inside me and left only the shell. The craziest part? I caught myself wondering if I'd overreacted. If maybe I should have given her a chance to explain more, to work through it. That's how deep the tricks of infidelity cut. You start second-guessing your own reality. But by sunrise, with her side of the bed cold and empty, the doubt turned into something else, a slow-burning anger. And I knew the fallout wasn't over yet. The next day, I was running on 2 hours of sleep and a gallon of coffee when my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I picked up. "Hey, is this my name?" A guy's voice asked. "Yep, you guessed it." It was T. For a second, I couldn't even process it. My brain short-circuited. Why the hell was he calling me? He sounded nervous, like he knew he was stepping into dangerous territory. He said, "I think we need to talk." Apparently, she hadn't just been lying to me. She'd been lying to him, too. She told him we were basically broken up, and that I was some clingy ex who wouldn't let go. He had no idea we were still living together. No idea we were still a couple. That's when it really hit me. She wasn't just cheating. She was running two different plays at the same time, tricking both of us into believing her version of reality. I didn't even yell at the guy. Weirdly enough, I felt a little sorry for him. He was just another pawn in her game. We talked for almost an hour, trading timelines, comparing stories. Every detail lined up perfectly, like two puzzle pieces clicking into place. Except the picture it formed was ugly as hell. By the end of the call, I felt less like a victim and more like a survivor of some twisted magic trick. She'd fooled us both, but the spell was broken now. When she realized I'd spoken to T, she lost it. I mean, full meltdown, blowing up my phone with calls, texts, voice notes. The messages flipped back and forth like a light switch. 1 minute, she was begging me to forgive her. The next, she was raging, accusing me of betraying her by talking to him. The irony nearly made me laugh. She cheats, lies, manipulates, and somehow I'm the one betraying her? Classic. At one point, she actually showed up at my place uninvited, banged on the door like a debt collector. When I didn't answer, she started yelling in the hallway about how I was ruining her life. Neighbors peeked through their peepholes. It was humiliating, but also kind of liberating. Everyone could see the circus I'd been trapped in. I didn't open the door. Instead, I slid my headphones on and sat on the couch, letting her shouts fade into background noise. For once, I was in control. Later that night, T texted me again. He told me he cut ties with her completely. Said he didn't want to be part of her web of lies anymore. That phrase stuck with me, web of lies. That's exactly what it felt like. She wasn't just cheating. She was weaving tricks and traps like a spider, waiting for us to get caught. And now she was the one tangled up in her own mess. After a few days of silence, the adrenaline wore off, and reality hit me like a freight train. The house was quiet, the bed empty, and all the little reminders of her were screaming at me. I felt exhausted, hollow, like someone had stolen a piece of my soul. I started replaying everything in my head. The sushi lie, the bathroom laughs, the double life. Every memory, every laugh we shared suddenly had this bitter aftertaste. I realized how much trust I'd given freely, how blind I'd been to the cracks in our relationship. I cried more than I expected. Not just sadness, but anger, betrayal, confusion, all tangled up. At times, I hated her. At times, I hated myself for not seeing it sooner. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, heart racing, wondering how someone could trick you so completely. But somewhere in that emotional wreckage, I started to notice something else, a strange kind of clarity. I understood that the pain, as intense as it was also a signal that I deserved better than manipulation, lies, and emotional games. That self-respect mattered more than keeping someone who didn't value me. It was a slow, painful realization, but it was the first step toward moving forward. The first thing I did was reclaim my space. I threw out the little things that tied me to her. Gifts, notes, that stupid mug with both our initials on it. Every item gone felt like a small victory, like I was taking back pieces of myself she had tried to manipulate. I started focusing on routines that made me feel good. Morning runs, cooking for myself, binging shows without guilt. I even started journaling, just scribbling down thoughts, feelings, and every moment of clarity I could grab. It helped me separate the lies from reality, my pain from my identity. I also leaned on friends. I shared some of the story. Well, the parts one could stomach without breaking down, and their support was insane. It reminded me that while she had tricked me, I wasn't alone in the world. People still saw my worth. Work became my sanctuary. I threw myself into projects, stayed late, learned new skills. Every email sent, every problem solved, felt like a silent declaration. I am more than what she took from me. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but the trickery that had once consumed my life started losing its power over me. And slowly, I I started to breathe again. Here's the part nobody warns you about. The lessons you don't expect to learn from being tricked and betrayed. First, I realized that trust is fragile, but self-respect is unbreakable if you protect it. I'd spent years giving her my trust freely, only to see it abused. But once I decided to value myself above her games, I felt stronger than I had in a long time. Second, I learned that clarity often comes after chaos. The pain was excruciating, but it forced me to see her for who she really was, and more importantly, to see myself for who I am. The calm I found after the storm? Priceless. Third, I discovered that betrayal isn't just about lies, it's about patterns. Her tricks were consistent, subtle, and manipulative. Recognizing patterns in people's behavior can save you from being blindsided in the future. And finally, I learned that it's okay to feel everything. The anger, the sadness, the shock. Ignoring those feelings only lets the trickster win. Feeling them, facing them, and moving past them is how you reclaim your life. Moving on emotionally wasn't instant. It never is. At first, I avoided dating, avoided relationships, even avoided getting too close to friends who reminded me of the closeness I'd lost. I needed space to heal without outside pressures or comparisons. But over time, I started opening up. Not recklessly, not naively, but carefully. I learned to recognize red flags, trust my instincts, and communicate openly. I even found moments of joy I hadn't felt in years. Laughing uncontrollably at a friend's dumb joke, cooking a meal just because I wanted to, walking through a park and realizing how much the world still had to offer. I realized that moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It means taking control of your story and refusing to let someone else's tricks define your life. Every step forward, every little act of self-respect, felt like reclaiming a piece of myself she tried to manipulate away. By the time I finally let someone new in, I wasn't scared. I was cautious, sure, but I knew the difference between someone worth trusting and someone playing a game. That knowledge alone made all the pain worth it. Here's the takeaway: Reddit. Getting tricked, lied to, and betrayed hurts like hell. It shatters your trust, makes you question your instincts, and leaves scars you didn't ask for. But it also teaches you things you can't learn any other way. I learned to value myself over someone else's games. I learned to recognize patterns of manipulation before they spiral out of control. I learned that pain is temporary, but self-respect and clarity are permanent. Most importantly, I learned that moving on isn't just possible, it can be liberating. If you're reading this and you're in a relationship where you feel the subtle tricks, the lies, or the manipulations, don't ignore that gut feeling. Trust it. Protect yourself. And remember, no one has the right to play with your emotions. Life is too short to be someone else's pawn. I'm sharing this not just to vent, but to remind anyone in a similar situation that there is a way out. You can survive. You can rebuild. And one day, you can even laugh at the ridiculous games people play, because you'll finally be free from them.